Your best friend is pregnant because of me. I wonder what this person is talking about. As if it's someone else's problem, a detached feeling bubbles up inside me. What snaps me back to reality is the statement Riley throws out in front of me. Well, that's the situation. So you'll divorce Jackson for me, right, Harper? Are you saying you're pregnant, Riley? When I ask back, Riley flashes a sleazy grin. She continues with a face mocking me. Surely you figured it out by now. I'll be taking Jackson, so get out. With pleasure, I smiled. Riley is really foolish. Does she think I knew nothing about it? No way. I've known about you two for a long time. I just didn't confront you until I was ready. But this makes things easier. You've confessed to cheating on your own. Well then, be prepared for me to return everything you've done to me with interest. I smiled and headed for the front door. My name is Harper. I'm a 34-year-old housewife working part-time at a supermarket. My husband, Jackson, works at a dealership for a well-known car manufacturer. I think his salary is good, but it's not like we have a lot of financial leeway. Jackson needs to dress well for his job. Plus, our daughter, Savannah, wants to go to a selective school. She's just started 4th grade, but from now on, preparing for exams will cost money. That's why I need to work part-time, to help out with the household finances as much as I can. Of course, working full-time would be ideal, but it's not that simple. The first issue is taking care of mother-in-law, Lily. Living alone, Lily has bad legs and is elderly. She receives an old age pension, but my care and support are necessary. The only consolation is that the house built by my late father-in-law is nearby. Lily lives there alone. She refused to live with us, wanting to live in a house full of memories. Another problem is Jackson's job. He's incredibly busy, and all the household chores are my responsibility. So, if I worked full-time, housework would just pile up. Maintaining the status quo is realistic, right? In the end, I can't take that final step. That's my current situation. However, I knew from the start of our marriage that I'd be doing the housework alone and that Lily's care would be necessary. So, I don't have any complaints about my current situation. But there's one thing I do regret. That is becoming friends with Riley, who introduced me to Jackson. Riley and I met in college. Back then, I was quite plain. Meanwhile, Riley was popular and stood out significantly. Indeed, Riley was attractive and had a personality everyone liked. But that niceness was just for show. In reality, Riley was the worst. However, it took me a long time to realize that. Back then, I was clueless and often hung out with Riley. Harper, are you worried about something? Riley gently taps my shoulder. I answer with a bit of shyness. I'm struggling with the assignment due next week. Is that all? I'm here for you. I'll help, so let's do it together. But being with someone as plain as me might make people look at you weirdly, Riley. I looked around. Why is Riley with someone as plain as her? I could feel such gazes from around us. I inadvertently averted my gaze. What are you talking about? Harper and I have been best friends since we entered school. Riley's words make the surroundings noisy. At that moment, Riley casts a stern look around. What? Is it strange for me and Harper to be best friends? I see students shaking their heads with a wry smile. Seeing that, Riley pulls me close and declares, "We may be complete opposites, but we're best friends. Everyone, please be nice to Harper too." Ah, I get it. Such words can be heard, and with that, I gradually became accepted. But this was all Riley's strategy. I could do various things because Riley was there. I started to think it was thanks to Riley. Looking back, it was all just an illusion. I was made to believe I couldn't do anything. But, unaware of such things, I spent my college years relying entirely on Riley. So, when Riley made such a request, I naturally accepted it. "You're taking the car dealer's recruitment exam? I was aiming for that too. Could you let me have it?" "But I also—" "Come on, we're best friends, right?" Comparing myself with Riley, I was clearly inferior. Our grades might be similar, but in terms of personality and appearance, I was completely outdone. Even if we took the exam or interview together, I wouldn't be hired. That thought crossed my mind, and I quickly backed down. "Maybe I should go for a bank then." "You should. Harper, you're more suited to be a banker." Eventually, Riley got the job at the car dealership. I became a banker. Frankly, it all went according to Riley's plans. But back then, I didn't think so. I was grateful to Riley for giving up the job opportunity, allowing me to secure a stable position at a bank. Soon after, Riley approached me with this proposal. "I have someone I want to introduce to you." "Someone you want to introduce?" "A colleague from work named Jackson. I think he'd be a good match for you. Why not give it a try?" If Riley says so, it must be right. I should meet him. That's what I thought immediately. After that, I met Jackson through Riley's introduction. Jackson and I started dating. Then, during one of our dates, Jackson murmured, "You are really a great person. I'd like to marry someone like you." "Me? Really? But I can't ask you to marry me." Jackson sighed. When I asked why, Jackson began to share his circumstances. Jackson has a mom with bad legs. He worried about making his spouse take care of his mom. That was why he couldn't take the step towards marriage. It's okay. I don't mind such things. The job keeps me busy, and you'd have to take care of all household chores. Is that still okay? Yes. Please leave it to me. I really liked Jackson, so I thought it was no big deal. That's why I married him. But that belief was betrayed a few years after our marriage. It happened when I went to pick up Savannah from preschool. Charlotte, usually so cheerful, approached me with an unusually stern face. "Hey, do you have some time to talk?" "Yes, I'm off from my part-time job today, so I have a little time. I have to do household chores once I get home. Taking care of Lily is important, but so is socializing as Savannah's mom. So, I followed Charlotte as she suggested. She led me to a cafe in the neighborhood. After we ordered, Charlotte began to speak. I saw something. As the kids started eating the cake they ordered, Charlotte shared her story with me. Recently, she's been going to a gym to lose weight. A few days ago, she saw Jackson there. Charlotte recognized him immediately since she had met him at preschool. But here's where the problem starts. Jackson was with a woman, and they seemed to be very close. Charlotte asked me with a grim expression, "Isn't that cheating?" "Cheating? No way, that can't be." Despite my words, I was shaken. Charlotte put her hand over mine, gripping the cup tightly. Why don't we check it out next time? If it's cheating, we might even get proof. The thought of confirming it was scary, but I couldn't just ignore the possibility of infidelity. After hesitating, I decided to go with Charlotte to the gym on the day she planned to attend. I left Savannah with Lily and left the house. I met up with Charlotte in the neighborhood and headed to the gym. We got in on a trial basis. After a while, Jackson showed up at the gym, but he was clearly alone. No woman, no colleagues, no friends in sight. I was relieved, thinking it was just a misunderstanding by Charlotte. Then, a familiar voice echoed. "Sorry, I got a bit delayed." That voice was Riley's. My heart skipped a beat. "What were you doing?" "Had to deal with a troublesome customer." Their conversation continued pleasantly. Seeing them together, I felt a tightness in my chest. The feeling of betrayal was overwhelming. Next was the realization that Riley, my supposed best friend, was involved. "Got the photo. Are you okay?" I nodded at Charlotte's voice, but I wasn't okay at all. My mind went blank. I don't remember what happened next. According to Charlotte, after leaving the gym, the two of them went to Riley's apartment. It seems I followed them with Charlotte and even took photos of them entering the apartment. I don't recall it, but the photos, serving as evidence, were securely on my mobile phone. "You have the proof, so it's better to divorce," Charlotte advised me, but divorcing right away wasn't the best move. Savannah is young, and I couldn't live on a part-time income alone. Just endure it for a while. Just a bit longer, then I'll divorce him. From that day on, I had a goal in my life: to stabilize my income and prepare my own financial foundation, to save up money bit by bit so I'd be ready for divorce whenever it happened. I focused on those two things. But that didn't mean my heart was at peace. Every time Jackson came home, acting as if nothing was wrong, I felt like my anger was about to explode. Somewhere in my heart, I wanted to believe in Jackson. That's why I occasionally asked him things like this. "Jackson, why don't you take Savannah out sometimes?" "It's impossible. Being a car dealer means the days when everyone else is off are my busiest." He doesn't want to deal with a child. Child rearing is my job. That's the impression his face gave. I nodded in agreement. "Right, of course. How about visiting Lily on your day off?" "I don't really have anything to talk about with Mom." "But you can't take care of her usually." "Caregiving is your job. I'm not a child. I'll refrain from that." Jackson's tone grew firmer, perhaps a bit irritated. It seemed Jackson had lost his affection not just for me, but for Savannah and Lily as well. I felt disappointed but somehow relieved at the same time. Now, I had no regrets. Those words floated through my mind. The following years were truly hell. Living with Jackson was just that, living together. Hardly any conversation, even less time spent face to face. And Savannah, as she grew, began to dislike Jackson. "I don't care if Dad's not around." That's what Savannah started saying. Then one day, Jackson had to go to the headquarters for work. Just the right moment, I headed to Lily's house with Savannah. And during Jackson's business trip, Savannah and I decided to stay at Lily's house. However, the next day, I received a strange call from Jackson, who was supposed to be on a business trip. "I'm not at home. Where are you?" "Huh? I'm at Lily's." "Not at home? What happened to your business trip?" "Just come back home right now." he said unilaterally and hung up. Puzzled, I headed home. As I entered, I could hear the TV from the living room. Jackson, did something happen on your business trip? I called out as I opened the living room door. At that moment, I saw Jackson and Riley talking. As soon as they noticed me, Jackson moved away from Riley. Jackson then confessed, "I got your best friend pregnant." Wondering what Jackson is talking about, a feeling like it's someone else's problem wells up inside me. What snaps me back to reality is the statement Riley throws out in front of me. "That's the situation, so you'll divorce Jackson for me, right, Harper?" Can't believe it. The pregnant best friend is you? When I ask back, Riley flashes a sleazy grin. She continues with the face mocking me. "Surely you figured it out by now. I'll be taking Jackson, so get out." With pleasure, I smiled. Riley is really foolish. Does she think I knew nothing about it? No way. I've known about Jackson and Riley's relationship for a long time. I just didn't confront you until I was ready. But this makes things easier. You've confessed to cheating on your own. Well then, be prepared for me to return everything you've done to me with interest. I headed towards the entrance with a smile on my face. As if trying to stop me, Jackson shouted, "Divorce, huh? Do you really understand what you're doing?" "I understand perfectly. With no full-time income, you think you can live by yourself after divorcing?" Jackson flashed a sleazy smile. I sighed. Then Jackson, with a presumptuous attitude, offered, "If you insist, how about I hire you as Mom's caretaker?" "That suits you, Harper. You're fit for taking care of the elderly." Jackson and Riley laughed. Seeing them like that, I sighed again. "Riley, you've finally shown your true colors." "Huh? I have no idea what you're talking about." Riley played dumb. I continued mockingly. "All this best friend talk and introducing Jackson was just to use me conveniently, wasn't it?" "So you knew?" "That's boring," Riley pouted. "Yes, I realized your true nature when I found out about the affair." I showed them the evidence photos of their affair saved on my mobile phone. "What is that?" Riley rushed over and stared intently at the phone screen. Upon realizing the photos were of them, she shot me a sharp look. "How long have you known?" "Years, maybe 5. "Don't joke. Knowing all this, why didn't you do anything?" Riley raised her voice. In contrast, I calmly replied, "I was preparing for life after divorce, thinking you'd ask if I could manage on a part-time income." I smiled at Jackson. Irritated by my demeanor, Jackson suddenly started making a fuss. "Then get out of the house quickly. I'll send your stuff wherever." "No need. Most of my belongings are already at Lily's." "At Mom's?" Jackson's complexion changed. I continued, struggling to hold back laughter. "Didn't you notice your wife and family's belongings gradually disappearing? That's a pitiful man, in many ways." An irritated Jackson raised his voice. "Enough! Then there's nothing more to discuss." "I'll be claiming compensation in the divorce court. I'll give you the divorce papers then." "Do whatever you want." "Be prepared. The cost of cheating isn't cheap." I looked back and forth between Jackson and Riley, then left the house. I headed straight to Lily's house. Savannah was preparing a meal at Lily's. "Mom, what was that about?" "Well," I hesitated. "Savannah is still a child. She might be shocked by her parents' divorce. Should I tell her the truth?" I was hesitant, but Savannah calmly asked, "Are we getting a divorce? If so, I'm for it." "Aren't you shocked, Savannah?" "I don't need Dad anyway," Savannah's catchphrase. So, Savannah was pushing for the divorce. At this point, I finally realized Savannah's feelings. "Savannah, I'm sorry for causing you trouble." "It's okay for me. But Grandma?" Savannah glanced at Lily. I turned towards Lily. "Lily, about that." "It's fine. Jackson is to blame, right?" "Yes, but..." I looked away. Then Lily patted my head. "You suggested it the other day because you saw this coming, didn't you?" "Yes, but Lily..." "It's okay. I've made up my mind." Lily smiled kindly. I felt relieved and tears started to overflow. In fact, I had suggested Lily move into a care facility. Not because I didn't want to take care of her, but to ensure she wouldn't be in trouble when I divorced. So, I was glad Lily was positive about moving into the care facility. Discussions with the facility were already underway. All that was left was Lily's consent. "Then, I'll proceed with the care facility arrangements." "Please do." I nodded vigorously at Lily's words. The next day, I began various procedures. Looking for a new home, finding a lawyer. There was a lot to do. Especially important was finding a house for Savannah and me to live in. Comfortable living space was a priority. I contacted several real estate agents. 3 days later, my mobile phone started ringing. Who could it be? "Hello?" As soon as I spoke, a loud voice came through. "How many times do you think I've called?" "Riley?" I muttered, distancing the mobile phone. "Yes, it's Riley." "Harper, where are you?" "At a real estate agent. Why?" When I asked, Riley's voice got even louder. "A real estate agent? Are you house hunting with stolen money?" "What? Stolen what?" "Don't play dumb. The debit card Jackson gave you is empty." I composed myself, realizing what she was talking about. Then I calmly told her the truth. There was never any money in it. We were living paycheck to paycheck. "Don't lie. Our company pays well. You shouldn't have trouble with living expenses." Riley's loud voice hurt my ears. "Look, no matter how good the salary is, if you're supporting an affair, it's naturally not going to be enough." "What do you mean?" "Still don't get it?" "That's because..." I patiently explained. Actually, Jackson had been splitting his salary in two. One part for supporting us, the other was for Riley. It seemed that about 70% went to our household and the rest was for Riley. I found out about this after discovering their affair. Wanting more evidence, I hired a professional to investigate. That's when I found out about the salary issue. When I told Riley this, she raised her voice even more. "What? You lived on 70% of the salary? That's impossible. Stop lying." "That's why I worked part-time." "That is..." Riley suddenly fell silent. "So, there's no money. But you have money, right? Then give it to me." I was dumbfounded, but I couldn't just let it go without responding. "I only have the money I earned myself. If you have a complaint, I'll add it to the settlement." "Addition?" "The compensation I'll claim from the affair partner. I was considering the standard amount, but since you seem to have a complaint..." I was cut off as the call ended. After that, Riley wouldn't answer any of my calls. I thought she would reflect on this. but it seemed not. The next day, Riley called again. As soon as I answered, Riley raised her voice. Where did you hide it? Ignoring my calls, and now, what are you talking about? That woman. Where did you do it? Who could she mean? Not Savannah, so what does she want? As I was thinking, Riley couldn't hold back and started shouting. Jackson's mom. She has money, right? She's not at home. Where did you hide her? Ah, you mean Lily. Where is she? Tell me. Riley screamed. She seemed quite desperate. Realizing she intended to beg Lily for money, I refused. Sorry, but I won't tell you. Why? Lily has money, right? If that's not possible, then sell Lily's house. Riley's greed poured out. Take Lily's money. If not, sell Lily's house. That way she could get money. Riley repeated such things. I sighed and asked Riley, Are you sure you want me to hear this? It doesn't matter. Once the divorce papers are filed, you will be a stranger anyway. That might be true, but Riley didn't seem to consider what would happen if I told Lily. Was she really that reckless with spending? I was puzzled, but then I decided to change my approach. To avoid the hassle, I'll tell you about Lily. Then you should have confessed from the start. So, where is she? In a care facility. I gave Riley the address I had noted. Eventually, Riley started laughing. I'll go there right away and start the process to sell the house. That's impossible. What? Are you upset? Not that. The house is already gone. At that moment, Riley's laughter stopped. Riley hesitantly asked me, What do you mean? Actually, Lily sold it to pay for her care facility admission. What? Sold? That was when I suggested Lily move into a care facility. Lily immediately refused. The reason was the lack of funds for admission. So, I proposed selling the house. Lily was hesitant but soon made a decision. That's how Lily's house was sold. However, I didn't want Jackson to catch wind of the situation until I brought up divorce. So, Lily continued living in her house, waiting for our divorce discussions to begin. That's how we got to the present, after Jackson told me to leave. So, Jackson's mom doesn't have any money? That's right. Don't mess with me. This is all your fault, Harper. Remember that. With that shout, Riley hung up. I figured this would make her give up. Now they can handle it themselves. With that thought, I methodically proceeded with the divorce procedures. First, I hired a lawyer to claim compensation in the divorce trial. I was sure they wouldn't agree, but surprisingly, they accepted the amount proposed by the lawyer. Then, through the lawyer, I received the compensation for the divorce trial. I also signed the divorce application and had it delivered to Jackson. Jackson apparently signed the divorce application willingly, and I was able to successfully divorce. It took 3 months for the divorce to be finalized. It was tough, but I think it was worth the effort. Feeling relieved, I went to thank the lawyer. That's when I was handed something. A wedding party invitation? It was an invitation to a wedding party, given to me by Riley, who didn't know my home address. Was I being invited as the pathetic woman who lost Jackson? I was about to tear it up right there, but I hesitated. Jackson's associates would be at the party. That's when I conceived a plan for revenge. So, I contacted that person. Sure enough, they had also received an invitation. That's why I went to the wedding party. The venue was a hotel banquet hall. It was called a party, but it was essentially a reception. They really went all out despite having no money. As I was pondering, a voice came from behind. "Thank you for coming." Turning around, I saw Riley in a dress, with Jackson by her side. "If you were going to do it this big, you should have had a wedding." "Sorry, I couldn't wear a wedding dress because I'm pregnant." Riley was heavily pregnant, seemingly close to giving birth. She wanted to demean me even in such a condition? I averted my gaze and responded, "Right. But I'm glad you came. I didn't think you would." Riley feigned tears. "Don't cry." I knew, but I said it anyway. Looking around, I noticed people averting their gaze. Riley must have said something convenient for her. The surrounding stares felt oddly cold. If that's how they wanted to play, I was ready to go all in. A fire was lit in my heart. Pretending to comfort Riley, I searched for that person. Soon, I found them. Sorry, I see someone I know." I quickly left the scene. For some reason, Riley followed. But this was expected. Riley would follow to mock me. Thinking this, I decided to leave. Then, I approached the intended person from behind. "Sorry to keep you waiting." The person turned around in response to my voice. It was Charlotte. "You're already here?" "Yes, I was just saying hello to my ex-husband and former best friend." As I indicated the two, Jackson started to panic. Thank you for coming today, but why is your friend here?" "I'm here with my husband. By the way, you've never met my husband, have you?" Charlotte smiled and pulled the arm of the man next to her. At that moment, Jackson's face turned pale. Charlotte introduced her husband to Jackson. "This is my husband, Lucas. He runs a supermarket and is a client of your company." "Ah, Mr. Garcia?" Jackson looked down, visibly shaken. In fact, Charlotte's husband, Lucas, was a client of Jackson's company. Not only his own car, but also the car Charlotte drove was purchased from Jackson's company. Furthermore, Lucas had referred his supermarket employees to Jackson's company as well. Thus, Lucas was an important client for Jackson. No wonder Jackson was flustered. Amidst this, Charlotte introduced me to Lucas. "This is my friend, Harper. She's helping me run an investment company." The moment Charlotte said that, Riley's complexion changed. "An investment company? What's that?" "Just what it sounds like. Jackson's salary was low, so I've always been investing. This was right after I found out about Jackson and Riley's affair. I realized I needed a stable income to divorce. That's when I started investing, something I took up after getting married. Being a former bank employee, I had some knowledge of investments. Increasing my investment paid off greatly. In no time, I was able to invest steadily. After sharing this with Charlotte, she became interested too. So, we started investing together, and eventually our other friends caught wind of it. We decided to turn it into a company. And that's how we started our business. That's why, after the divorce, I started working at the investment company. I have an income, and divorcing was the right decision." "What is that supposed to mean? How about you, Riley? Did you manage to find any money?" When I asked, Riley turned away, visibly frustrated. I continued with the laugh. "Financially, it's even more of a hardship now." "Huh?" "Because with Jackson in such a state, you know." I pointed to where Jackson was desperately apologizing. It seemed Lucas was scolding him. "I'm sorry. My affair is to blame. I'll be honest, so please continue to. Despite his earnest apologies, Lucas seemed uninterested. In the end, the apology was meaningless, and Jackson was abandoned. After losing an important client, Jackson found it difficult to stay at the company. He was the subject of rumors among his superiors and colleagues. Unable to bear such a life, Jackson resigned. Meanwhile, Riley, pregnant, pressed Jackson for a divorce. However, she couldn't work while pregnant. Reluctantly, they decided to divorce after the birth. Currently, they are in the midst of that divorce trial. For the trial, Jackson has been working at a construction site, and Riley appears to be working at a club. It seems they are using the money they've worked so hard to earn just to insult each other in court. I heard this story from Lily. In fact, I've been visiting Lily even after the divorce. Savannah is still Lily's granddaughter, after all. Savannah herself is facing exams next year. Mom, is it okay if I take the exams? Are we okay with money? Of course. I'll work hard, so you need to work hard too, Savannah. Yeah, I want to be like Mom, so I'll do my best. Savannah is the reason I was able to keep going. I met my true friend, Charlotte. All my happiness is thanks to Savannah. I want to do anything for Savannah. I strongly felt that way.